live location.
Okay, we're in the sugya of shame v'ayin that if it goes free, if you knock out the shame v'ayin of an eved. We said yesterday the chilik between not only shame v'ayin but shari varm as well. Also, you would go free. You saw in halacha that shame v'ayin you would not need a get shichur afterwards. It would take off both components, not only the kinyan mamin but also the het of marrying a bas Yisrael versus Rashi Evarim. You would have to give, in addition to freeing the Eved, you'd have to give him a get shifra to matem to what? To a bas Yisrael. Okay. Fine.
It must be different. It's on the air.
Okay, we'll wait till Chaim Lax comes and sits down. Very happy to have you back, Chaim Lax.
Happy to be here.
You've,
happy that the rabbi's back.
You've aged quite a bit since I saw you last. Anyway. Okay, so we're Tanur Rabbanan. Where lines get wide, 4 lines down. Tanur Rabbanan. Rabbi Roife. Let's say his master was a doctor, and he says to him, "Lichole einai v'sama." He went ahead and he put some salve in his eye and he blinded him. Lachker loy sheina. He was a dentist. They appealed and he knocked it out. Sikik ba'ada and b'yetze. He lives his master b'yetze l'cheres. And the Tanakama says he goes free. No, it says v'shichasa. It's got to be derech of destruction. Actually, iskaven l'shachasa. But if you're not mechaven l'shachasa, then you wouldn't go free. Rabbanan will say you would go free. What do they use it for? Person, he's delivering a baby. He's delivering a baby, and he goes ahead and he puts his hands into the woman's womb to take out the child, and besima ubeshev meyeha, and it blinds the uber in the meyeha, then potter. Lashon potter. What does potter mean, Rashi? Yeah, Rashi is lashon potter. What does Rashi say, potter? He wasn't mechaven at all. You would be chayiv. So then we're talking about the chayv paying. It says chayiv. It's potter chayiv. We're talking about paying tashlumin. So over here, we're not speaking about freeing. Islam is, again, why would you have to pay your shifra anything? But the lashon of chayiv and potter are funny lashonis, no? You should say you're free or not. The potter means potter from freeing, and chayiv means chayiv from freeing. It's a very, very interesting lashon, right? Mm-hmm. It's a very, very interesting lashon. 1 second. Potter hardin ala shasas ayin veinu b'yatz. Yeah, you potter veinu uber yatz tachas. Okay, my timer. What's the reason? The makra b'shichasa. The pasuk says b'shichasa. Ashichaven l'shachasa, and he wasn't mechaven. The idach and Shum Gamliel. How does he know this thing? Since he used v'shichasa, that to destroy. What do they do v'shichasa? It says when it could have said v'shichas, it says shichasan. You have 2 dinim. One that has to be derech shichasa, and secondly, to be part of idach chachamim who don't darshan that shichas shichas lo darsh. They don't darshan the double lashon. They say it's only one lashon. It's not a double lashon. Only one thing can be learned from it. Amrav sheshes. Let's say already was blinded. The David was already blind. The chatata, and the Adam went ahead and dislodged it. In other words, it was a blind eye, but it wasn't the eye socket. He went ahead and he dislodged it. Eved yoitzav and lecheres. The Eved would go free. My time. What's the reason I couldn't see anyway? Mechusei. He makes it a mechusei that you're missing a limb, literally. Right, the Tana Tuna, we have a Tana that coincides and agrees with this din of Rav Sheshes. Right, we know that there's a halachas of what of karbanis. We know a balmum is not permitted to be brought as a carbon, and we know that a bird can be brought as a carbon. Tamus v'zachus bebehema. You need what? There's a din of a tamus that it has to be tamim. Zachus, there's certain animals that have to be what? Males, and oil can only be a male, and osham can only be a male. There's certain animals that can only be a male, right? And the behema being Thomas v'zachris ba'ifis, but there's no din of Thomas v'zachris ba'ifis. In other words, when it says that you can bring a bird, it doesn't make them as a female bird or a male bird. It doesn't make a difference whatsoever. Nor does a balmum make a difference. It's as a mum, it's still kosher. Yochalam, I think Yov Shagapa, if its wing is withered, I knock the raglo, or its regal is cut off. I nechka eno, or its eye is out. I might think that you could bring it because you told me there's no din of Thomas. There's no din of Thomas by a knife. Tamad Leimar. It says min ha'oif. Min ha'oif oilo karbanoi. Min ha'oif loy kalaif. Min always means part of it. So you see that Chusareva is a madrega, one madrega up even for an animal. You can't bring as a carbon. Who are din if you Chusareva of an eved, he would go free, despite the fact that you couldn't see out of the eye anyway. Amar Chia Barashi Amarav. Hoisaloi Yisera. Let's say he has an etzba Yisera. He has a sixth finger. I was going up. There was a toy called Sixth Finger. It was like you could shoot. It was like a pen, and you could shoot something out of it. And you wore it. You put it over here, and you wore it like here over here. It's a sixth finger. It was a stupid toy. Anyway, but of course I bought it, right. Anyway, so you have if you go ahead, you have this extra etzba, and you cut it off. Every yoitz from lecheres, never go free. And Amar Avhuna buhu nisperes al gav yad. That means it can't be over here. It can't be over here. If you have a finger growing out of the middle of your hand and you cut it off, that is not go free. It has to be al gav yad, because you know why? Because it's al gav yad. You couldn't tell which is the extra one, which is not the extra one. Okay. Mashenkin over there, I think it's considered like it's not there because it's so weird. Sabe de Nizunya, that's the name of a place. The elders of Nizunya, Asu lepirke the Rav Chisda. They didn't come to the share of Rav Chisda. So Amalei Rav Chisda said to Rav Hamnuna, Zil tzad inu, go ahead and be matzniya them. In other words, go put them in chayrim for not coming to a share. Can you imagine? Right?
You know less.
Right? Guys, don't worry. I'm not going to be so strict. I don't want to sit here alone. Anyway, so he said, go put him in chayrim for not coming to share. Not a bad idea. Anyway, so Ozil Rav Hamnuna went to the ziknei of Nizunya, and Amalahu, he said to them, my time will yosser Rabban Lepirke, when to come to the share. So Amulei, they told him, my say, why should we come? We asked him something, and he didn't answer us. So Amalu Rav Nuna said, right? Wait, did you ask me something and I didn't answer you? And it's very funny dialogue, right? They were speaking of Rav Chisda. Why is Rav Huna getting around? Okay, it seems to be a Bnei Yehoyada that discusses it. So boy mine, they asked Rav Hamnuna, Evet shesirsu rabbi bebeitzim. Let's say an Evet that was castrated, right? And they're still in the kiss, they're still in the scrotum, right? What's the din? Mahu, what's the din? Did it go to the cheres or not? Now, kimum shebegoli dami. Like remember, we learned that from Shem va'ayin. It has to be something that's observable. Kimum sheba'ayin dami, oiloi or not? Because what? Because it's still what? It's still not revealed. So lava biyade. Guess what? Rav Nuna then with the answer. So Amla is the kid who said, "Ma shemech, what's your name?" So what's your name? Hashmach Amlahu Hamnuna. So Amalei lav Hamnuna el Karnuna. Lashon of a car, you sit in the wagons like you're not a Ben Torah. Tough crowd. Anyway, also the Kamei of Chisda, Rav Nuna came from Rav Chisda. They said the Maisa what happened with the Sabin and the Zunya. So Amalei Rav Chisda told him, "Masnisim by minach." The Yeshu a brisa did nan. Now this is the Inyan Negoyim. You see a certain nega on one. It has to be on one of the Evarim. So Asara Esen v'Abor Roshi Evarim Sheba Adam Kulam im Mitamayim Mishum Nichya. There's one of them is one of the Negoyim is called Michya. It's called Michna, and it has to be on a flat place. In other words, it has to be you could see it at once. But if it's on a place that's curved, you can't see it at once, it won't be a nega. One of the halachas of Negoyim of this particular nega. So the Eluheim, one of the places that it would be considered a nega, Rashi it's supposed to be Raglayim, 10 toes and 10 fingers. For Rashi it's 9 the 2 ears. For Rashi Choitim the nose. For Rashi Gavia is the male Ava. So this is where we learned out. This is the Rashi Evarim that we learned out Linyan Evet. The Rashi Dodim Shabiish and the Dodim of a woman. Rabbi Yehuda disagrees. Af Shabiish, even the Dodim Shabiish will be considered Negoyim. the Tani Allah, the Kulam, Eved Yoitzev and Lecheres. So all these, the Erev go Lecheres. Rabbi Yomer, Rabbi says, Af Hasirus. Not only these 24, but even someone who's Misares, the Eved castrates the Eved. But again, this is not castrating him because they're still intact. Ben Azai Yomer, Af Alashin, even the Lashin. So Mashma Ben Azai agrees by, he's saying two. He's saying Sirus and he's saying Lashin. Rabbi's saying Sirus, but not Lashin. Good? So Amamar. Now, this is part of the kasha. Right? It's beautiful. Usually, Amamar, guys, is what we said previously, and we're continuing. I love pointing out like these little pictures. Kids, look at Rashi. Rashi, so 1,000 years ago, he told us this. Rashi Amamar, right, parallel to about the 4 lines down where it gets wide. Rav Chisda Masik v'Azol Nosa l'Nifshid Boy Desabe. Rav Chisda is going on. That's Rashi telling you that usually Amamar, you're going back over to Brisa to go ahead and explain the Brisa. We're not doing that yet. We didn't get to the point yet that Rav Chisda is. So Rashi is telling you that this is not the norm. Rashi had to tell you that this is not the norm, that you're going back to explain the Brisa, which Amamar usually means. It means no, it's just Amamar. It's just Geshmak is anything that Rashi holds your hand as you go through Shas. These little things. I love when he's. I was reading it. Did it make any sense? Yeah, Ben Yechusa always tells you right. Anyway, so we have. So L'chayr Rebbe said Sirus, Ben Azai said Lashain, and Amamar Rebbe Omer Af HaSirus, Mashma that what? Sirus Demai. Which type of Sirus are we speaking about? What was cut off? Ilema Sirus, the Gid, if the Gid was cut, the Aver was cut, Hainu Gavia, that already is included Rosh Gavia. Elolav Sirus the Beitzim. So it must be the Sirus of the Beitzim. Now if you look at Rashi now, Shmamina, boy, the Sabi plugged the Rabban of Rebbe, the Rabban would hold what? Not, and Rebbe would hold, yeah. So Rashi's giving you, this is the conclusion to what the Shaila that was asked to Rabbi Nuna by the Sabbath in Zunya. Very geschmack. Rashi goes along and points it out. Now going back over to Brisa. Rebbe Omer, Afa Sirus. Even Sirus would be Mitzi the Eved. Now the Rebbe, Loshan Loi, it's mashma, because when Ben Azai said Af Loshan, mashma Loshan not. Now why would Loshan be not, guys? Because you could see the Loshan is not Begoloi. It has to be something that's revealed, but the lashon is hidden by your lips. Okay? So now, yeah?
Same thing?
So he wants to say that, he wants to say that a sirus seems to be and lashon not, right? It's not considered begoli. Uriminu, I'll ask you a stira. Now, maza, fellas, when you spitz paradum, it has to be in a makam goloi. So if Rebbe would hold that if you spitz on a person and lands on his tongue, it would be acceptable. You have a stira because there it's considered a makam galoi. Yet by Eved Yaitzel Cheres is not considered a makam galoi, right? It's not considered an open spot. Okay, so we're going right along. Rebbe Yom Afa Sirus, the Rebbe Loshen Loi, or Minu Harimisha Hoya Maze, guys Spritzi Mechatos on a mace, the Nitza a tummy mace, the Nitza Azal Piv, and he gets it in the mouth. Rebbe Yom it's considered Azal. Why? Because the mouth is a makam galoi. The Chum say it's not. My love al shainoi, when it says it hit, it's speaking that it got his mouth and therefore his tongue. So you see, the tongue is considered a makam goli. Says Malai al svasav on his lips. Says more al svasav pshita. That's obvious. His lips are makam goli. So mahu detema zimnin decholim sifsei. I might think that what. That sometimes when a guy goes like this, like the lips are sealed and it's not considered makam goloi, kamashma it's a makam goloi. But the bottom line is it's not a kasha from paraduma on Rebbe. Says Gemara Vatanya. Now another alishainoi. It says what? Alishainoi. It says that alishainoi. In other words, you know when it says it spitz, where did it spitz? Alishainoi. V'oitanya. In addition. Let's say this is speaking about a mum that passes. The carbon would be what? Would be if the majority of the tongue was taken away. We have a part of our tongue that's connected to our mouth, I guess, to the bottom, and the part that is the tip that's the Lashono HaMedaber. Now the animals obviously don't speak, but the comparative in a human being, in the animal. Bottom line is Rebbe saying that's a mum. Now you're seeing that this is a mum shebegoli by what? By an animal. Who adin l'chayr should be a mum by it should be considered goli by a human being, and therefore you should even go to cheres. So why would Rebbe say only Hamasuris goes to cheres and not what? And not, guys, getting back to we a long way off, right? Rabbi said what? Lashon Ben Azai said you go to Cheres. You said not, but why? If you're telling me that it's considered a mum by an animal, it must be goli. If it's goli, then what? And also, and also we considered by spitzing, it is considered goli. So what's the difference by what? By Eved. Ella, what do you have to say? Rabbi Yomer Siris, Veloimi boy Lashon. I think Dak was bothered by this. If you hold Lashon is not goli, how in the world could Rabbi hold Beitzim are goli? So he's saying no, Lashon af. In other words, Lashon for sure, and af Sirus, which is less of a goli than Lashon. So therefore, we're retracting Rebbe's pshat. Until now, we thought Rebbe held Lashon was out of the ballpark. Kamash Malon, if you cut off the tongue of an Eved, he would go lecheres. Because why? Because we proved that it's goli by boom, and it's the goli by para atuma. So therefore, now Ben Azai Yomer, well, let me by Lashon. Ben Azai says Lashon, right? Aval Siris loy. He says Lashon Siris not. But the question said af. Guys, in other words, why would that be? Because Sirius is less of a galoi. Because again, you're holding it's still in the scrotum, so it's hidden. So I agree Lashon, but I disagree by Sirius. So Rebbe is more even-handed for the Eved. Rebbe going at the 24 Rosh Evarim, Shein va'ayin, which is not one of 24. In addition, Sirius. In addition, Lashon. Says Ben Azai what? Now what's the problem? Rebbe said Lashon, then Ben Azai said Af. No, Rebbe said Sirus, and he said Af Lashon. When you say Af Lashon, it's mashma that he agrees with Rebbe regarding Sirus, right? So you know what the Af's going on? Rosh Evarim. It's not going back on. No, Rosh Evarim, these are the ones who go out, and says Ben Azai Af Lashon, but not Sirus. Okay, so that's the way I have to read it, guys. It's a very good shot. It says Umay Af Akamaisa. It's going back Akamaisa. It's going back on the 24. It's not going on the Sirius. It's not going on the Sirius. Now, Ihachi, if that's the case, Nagnama de Ben Azai Beresha. Guys, look at me. Listen to what we're saying. The Eved goes out with 24 Evarim. Comes along Rebbe Af Sirius, meaning Af Sirius and even Lashon. Comes along Ben Azai and says, not Sirius, but Af Lashon. What's the Af Lashon going on? This. Why don't we make him a sense that what? Let's read it this way. 24 says Ben Azai Af Lashon, says Rebbe Af Sirius, and then it goes glad. Everything's smooth, right? Everything smooth, right? You got the 24, you got him as only adding Lashon. You have Rebbe not only Lashon but adding Seiris. The whole order is a little tzumished, right? Okay, that's a Gemara's kasha. So why is your order so tzumished? And for the Gemara, one thing we know for sure. And for the Gemara, Tana Shama the Rebbe v'kava v'shama de Ben Azai the Tani. In other words, this is the way it was taught. U'mishnah le'zazim kaima, and the Mishnah does not go ahead and move from its spot. This is the way we spoke out there. They memorized it, and therefore they never deviated from this. And Rashi discusses it over here. If you look at Rashi, says Rashi Geshmak, 3 lines down where it gets wide. Kova Eitzel Rishaynos v'Hada Shamal Ben Azai Shahaya Moisef Lashon Levadai Al Rishaynos. Notice they would Kaveh Rebbe first, and then they heard what Ben Azai said. V'Nim Secholak Al Rebbe B'Sirus the Kova B'Lashon Af K'Moshomer Ben Azai v'Hoya L'Tana L'Koiva Bein Tanakama L'Rebbe v'Hada L'Misli Tesefer Sirus Allah. That's where you should have learned it. Elashemei Acha Shenikva Shel Rebbe Eitzel Tanakama. Since they were Kaveh Rebbe next to the Tanakama, Shegura B'Fiat Talmidim Kach, and that's the way it was memorized. What in the mouth of the Talmidim? Loizaza Shel Rebbe Mumkomo. Rebbe was not moved from his spot. V'Sidru Shel Ben Azai Achrecha L'Vishagirsa Shuga B'Peh Kosher L'Shenoisa V'Lachsa L'Goysa V'Lashon Hacha. Once something is learned to you a certain way, it gets in a certain way, guys. You can't take it out. The Geshmak Rashi explains beautifully. Right, Masa Kedash, very good. Geshmak. Okay, so now we know something about Paraduma Spitz. So Davisha Begoli, Amaula Hakol Moedim Belashain LeInyan Tuma. Now everyone is moida by lashon le'inyan tuma the golehu. In other words, if a sheretz, if a sheretz would touch, we know there's something called tumas beis hastarim. Tumas beis hastarim is not tameh, guys. So in order for something to contract tumah, it's got to be begoloi. So your tongue, sometimes I could view it as covered up, and sometimes not. I mean, that was the Kiddush, right? So le'inyan tuma, if the sheretz would touch your tongue, you're tameh. Everyone's made. There's no machloikas le'inyan kabbalas tuma that you're tameh. My timer, it says hashayiga bo yom rachmana. V'hainami bar negiyahu, something that the sheretz touches, and this is a bar negiyah. This is something you could touch. Le'inyan tefillah, regarding tefillah, everyone kitam and dami. Regarding tefillah, it's considered tamun. It's considered tamun that you do not have to wash it. My timer, v'rochatz besara b'mayim amrachmana, my besara me'avroi, afkol me'avroi. So let's say your tongue does not in the mikvah. Your tongue is not considered a chatzitza. It doesn't require tefillah mikvah. Zero. Why? Because it's not an external part. What? Why is that begoli? Why is that begoli? Like nechelku elo le'inyan hazah. The machloikis is regarding spritz. Do you need a spritz on your tongue or not? Rabbi medamale letuma, and therefore you have to. Rabbanim medamale letfila, and you don't have to. Rabbi is medamal again letuma, and you have to. Rabbanim medamale letfila, and you don't have to. And they're arguing about this pasuk. Okay, let me quote you. The pasuk is by midri you test. What does it say? By midri you test. It says, "V'hiza hatohor ala tamei." The person that Torah will spritz on the person that's tamei. B'yom hashlishi u'b'yom hashvi'i, on day 3 and day 7. Guys, here's the key. V'chitoi b'yom hashvi'i, and he'll spritz on yom shvi'i. V'kibes b'godav v'rochatz b'mayim. Now, v'chitoi, we can go ahead and say, where's that spritz going on? Is it going on the first part of the pasuk of ala tamei, or is it going in the second part of the pasuk of the rochatz? If it's going in the first part of the word tamei, we'll say the spritz, v'chitoi, the act of spritzing is similar to tamei. If it goes in the latter part of the pasuk for rochatz, then it's going to the mikvah. It's going on tefillah. So that's the machlokes. Rabbi obviously says we compare it to the first part of the pasuk for rochatz, ala tamei. And the Chacham say we explained the last part of the pasuk. The kitu is going on what the chibes begodav v'rochatz. Very geschmack. Says the Gemara inside. It said b'may kamiflagi v'hiza hator ala tamei. Rabbi savar v'hiza hator ala tamei b'yam hashlishi v'mashvi v'chitoi, and v'chitoi is going what you read it with ala tamei. Rabban sari v'chitoi b'yam hashvi v'kibes begodav rochatz mayim. In other words, where does v'chitoi go? Does it go back? You read it along with ala tamei, or do you read it what with v'rochatz? Guys, you hear? In other words. Rachatz is tefillah, tamei is tumah, v'chitoi is spritz. Do we compare spritzing to tamei? Rabbi says yes. So you read the pasuk like this, according to Rabbi. The Gemara did it for you. Here's the way you do it, guys. V'hizar atar ala tamei b'yam hashlishi b'yam hashvi v'chitoi. It's like a period. Now, according to the Rabbanon, it says v'hizar atar ala tamei b'yam hashlishi b'yam hashvi v'chitoi b'yam hashvi v'chibes b'gad rachatz. The chit is going on the rachatz. Therefore, you compare it to tefillah, and it's not required. Rabbanan nami nidami l'tuma. Why do you compare it to tuma? He goes, "Tire me, tire havi. Guys, when you're spritzing what are you doing? What's the purpose? To be the guy, tire the guy. Tire the guy. When you go to the mikvah, what's the purpose? Does that make sense? The chita should be going right on tire, right?
Laser. When doing the trop on that parsha, the chita goes with the next words. It's one phrase. They don't have it separated over there.
Again, the drush, I guess the drush is not going according to the trop. Listen, if Balkari asks the question, you have to be here in Shul Laning.
Okay. And I won't ask.
They go to Chameh. It's a drush Meya, right?
Okay.
I mean, I appreciate your Bekiyas that you know the pasuk by heart and you know the trop by heart. It's very impressive. We miss you, and we miss you greatly.
Thank you. Okay.
Stop disturbing my share. Now, says tomorrow. Chibis will go the Rebbe nidamya the tefillah, and Rebbe is medama it to tefillah, right? Fred the Gemara. Why doesn't Rebbe, who says it's al toma, why does he compare it to tefillah? The chibis begodav hifsika inyan. Guys, you read the pasuk, but even without the trop, If you read the pasuk like this, v'hiza Torah latame b'yom ashlishi b'yom ashvi v'chitoi b'yom ashvi v'chibes begodav v'rochatz. It doesn't say v'chitoi v'rochatz. It says v'chibes begodav, right? So therefore, it's mapsing, and therefore it goes back on Tuma. In other words, I agree with you that what Tyra Shmi and Tyra, but the pasuk, since you have v'chibes begodav, that's a hefsek, and obviously therefore the tim is going back on al hatame. Fred the Gemara, the Sabi Rebbe linyan tefillah kitam and dummy that you don't have to get it wet. The Amar Ravin, Amar Avada, Amar Rabbi Yitzchak, Maisa b'shivcha shel beis Rebbe, shetavla v'alsa, she was toivel, she came up, the nimtza etzem bein shineha, and there was a bone between her teeth. The tzricha Rebbe tefillah cheres. So in other words, guys, when Rebbe says in tefillah, you don't have to get what. It's considered tamon, so when you go to the mikvah, you don't have to open your mouth. That's what it means. I know I don't need my tongue wet. Good. So now, why therefore, if you would have a etzem in your mouth stuck in your teeth, it should also be considered makom tamon. Says the Gemara, in other words, you don't need water to get there, but you need hypothetically the possibility for water to get there. And we know this is the din of Rabbi Zera that we have all in Shas, we have in Yevamis, we have in Nedarim, we'll have it in Basra, in Makis, Menachas, a few times, Chulin, a lot of times. Okay, here's Rabbi Zera's din. Fellas, you have Shemin is put in a Kli. A Kli is 60, it's 60, it holds 60 saw. How much is it? A sovereign. You have 60 esrainis, right? You have 60 esrainis. You have shemin. If you don't mix it, it's not ma'akev. If you have 61, if you don't mix it, it's ma'akev. Why? Because 61 doesn't work. It won't mix. So over here also, the water won't get in. So Kid Rav Zera, don't Rav Zera. Color roy labila, anything that's right to be mixed. Ain bila ma'akeves, the mixing is not ma'akev. Ushena roy labila, something that's not roy labila ma'akeves place. So in other words, so 61, even though 60 you don't mix, it's a kosher carbon. 61 you don't mix, is not. So therefore, if you didn't have anything chaitzis between your teeth, it's good. If you have chatzitza between your teeth, it's not good. On the base, kit hanoi. This machlokes of series of beitzim, machlokes in the Rabbanon and Rebbe is in fact the machlokes tanoim. Now this pasuk in Vayikra Chav Beis is discussing the mumim that you find in animals. It's discussing the mumim in animals. We'll just mention the pasuk without going into detail. It's all speaking in that part of the body, the personal part of the body. And you're not allowed to go ahead and castrate the animal. Okay? All the beitzim, div Reb Yehuda. The beitzim v'lei begid, elakulin af bebeitzim, div Reb Yehuda. So therefore, since this is considered a mum, even bebeitzim, so let Reb Yehuda, you go free. The other will go free, like what? Like Rebbe. All these mumim mentioned are in the gid, in the aver of the animal, and therefore, obviously, by you won't go free because again the beitzim are not considered mum, I guess, and therefore why would not be considered a reason to go free by an evet. So it depends according to him. If Marv Cotton you would go free, not of course you would not go free. Okay. The next we just finished the sugya of avodim, and now we're going to go ahead and really get into the sugya of kinyonim. And kinyonim is very important in business transactions. I think it really would be very helpful. I sent out a ritva today to go through this ritva. It's quite lengthy, but it's easy to understand, and it makes a lot of sense. So you have your phone with you? Yeah. You have a sheet. You better that. Okay, if you have your phone with you, that's great. And if you need one, I have a hard copy here, the original. You take that? Okay. Let me blow this up. Bring it down here. Okay. The Mishnah is going to say a behema gasa, a large animal, nikdas b'mesira is acquired with mesira. That means giving over the reins. We'll see what it is. Pirsh Rashi Zal b'mesira dafka b'mesira, v'loy b'meshicha, dafka b'mesira and not meshicha. L'fishein darko lahanig b'meshicha. It's not the norm to go ahead and lead a heavy animal. A heavy animal is hard to lead as opposed to a small animal, a lamb or something small like that, or an aisle, something small like that, you could lead. Mashenkin, a large animal, it's not the derech to schlep them along, and therefore only Mesira, not Mashicha, says the Ritva, V'loi Nehira. Rashi's incorrect. I don't agree. Dimkein l'Rab Meir says pill, b'nichse hager. You don't have it? No, it's on both. You don't have it? Okay, 1 second. Okay, so now it says I don't agree. In other words, Rashi says you can't acquire the animal Mashicha, you only can acquire the Mesira. Says the Ritva, Dim Kain L'Reb Meir Pil B'Nichsi Ager U'Mitzia B'Mai. Okay, let's skip his question. Let's skip his question. Okay, so then came now. Umay de kamal ifishain dark of Mashicha holy area danam being a knius leyaslin and basa or chay lechud. Teida, we don't go after just the normal way. Teida shari hagba he gedoyle shebekulam. The greatest kinyan is hagba. The koina afilu bidvarim kfei demoid. And even though you can acquire something very heavy, even though you can't pick it up. So you see that. Okay, so now let's ushleisha kinyanim heim. There are 3 kinyanim. Gedoyle shebekulam is hagba. Wherever you are, meaning even if you didn't leave the rishus of the meicher, you buy something from somebody. In other words, you buy an animal from somebody. Usually, you'd have to take it out of his rishus and bring it into your rishus. If you pick up the animal in that rishus, even without leaving, Hagba is the biggest, is the strongest of all kinyanim. And this is required by things that are only acquired with Agba. The Afbishamatzinu Star Shanikna Beksivo Mesira. Mesira Mur Bishtaris ain't a Kashar Mesira Ela Hagba. A star is kind of with Hagba, you lift it up. Like you go make a kinyan tonight, you pick it up, right? Anyway, okay, so if ain't Derek Staris, let's skip down a little bit. The Zimin the Karle Mashicha, sometimes the star is called Mashicha. The bottom line is, go to where the underlying words, the Fishahu Kinyan Chashiv. Since Hagba is the Kinyan Chashiv, Koina Af Bechal Dover Hanikta B'Mashicha Oy Mesira. So let's look at 3 Kinyanim. The strongest being Hagba, the middle being Mashicha, and the last one being Mesira. Hagba is going to help anything, and that's kind of with Mesira, Mashicha, and Mesira. 1, 2, and 3. 1 will help you for 2 and 3. Right? Therefore, there's nothing that won't be acquired with Hagba. So Hagba is the strongest kinyan. That's the first kinyan. And therefore, anything, Hagba can acquire anything. Fellas, a horse. How you acquire a horse? The Mesira, right? You give over the reins. If you can pick up that horse, right? We're going to see, if you can pick up that horse, it's going to work. It's not normal. It doesn't make a difference. Since it's the chashivus of all the kinyanim, it's going to work for everything. But kinyan hasheni is Mashicha. Who kinyan? Where does this take place? Not b'chal makom. It takes place b'simta u'b'chatzis shel shnehem. It takes place b'simta, which is a slide of Rishus Rabim, or it takes place a chatzah that belongs to both of them. Shemoshech oisam rishus habaylim rishusai. You're pulling the animal from his rishus to your rishus. That's the kinyan, the change of bailus. By Hagba lifting it up, Hagba has to be over 3 tefachim. You're lifting it up. You're off the ground. It goes into your rishus. Here, you have to pull it into your rishus. It's not going to work in rishus harabim because even if though you pull it, you're not pulling into your rishus, right? Well, let's say it's a chatzah that belongs to neither one of them. So if I'm buying an animal from Benji and Chaim Lax's rishus, it's not going to work. Mashiach is not going to work. Hagba will, but that won't work. right? Right. V'hi kaina b'dvarim beinanim, and it works for middle type of things. Shein darka lahagbia, that it's not possible to lift up. The efshel mashcham, but it's possible to pull. Avaloi b'dvarim kalim, it's not going to work for little things. Pirish, you don't do mashicha on a pen. you don't do mashicha. Little things you don't do mashicha on. Ve'ein kinyan hashafel goimer b'makom shetiknu by kinyan elyon. I underline that, guys. A kinyan kal will not be acquired when they were metakin to be acquired a certain way. Kinyan elyon mimenu. Aval elyon goimer b'tachlim b'makom shegoimer hashafel mimenu. Let me explain, guys. Hagbah is number 1. Mashiach is number 2. Masir is number 3. If you do Hagbah on number 2, it's going to work. If you do Mashiach on number 1, it's not going to work because Mashiach is a number 2. That's what you just said. It's not going to work for something that's less than it. It will, something that's less than it, it could kind of, but something that's less, so something that's more chashiv, you can't go ahead and do. So something that's kal, that they're attacking a pen, for example. You can go ahead, take the pen and pull into your rishus. No. Pen is derech hagbah. So a kinyan mashicha will not help you for something that you require a hagbah, because hagbah is a 1. A 1 will help you for a 2 will help you for a 1. Okay, so that's the first 2 kinyanim. The kinyan ashlishi, what's the third kinyan? It's masira. The hiba makam she'em mashicha kaina, and that's a place where mashicha won't be kaina. That's a place where mashicha won't be kaina. Kigoin rishus harabim, the chatzah shein shel shneihem. In other words, this big fat animal, you can't pull the animal, correct? So you can't pull it from one chatzah to another chatzah, from one rishus to another rishus, yeah? So therefore, where's it going to work? Shechachamim tiknu kinyan b'chol rishus. That masira is going to work anywhere. For kivin delay shaychi bu mashicha, since it's not shaykh mashicha, because it's not the derech to pull a large animal, tiknu shom masira. They would attack Masira. Now, again, Masira is from one Rishus to another. Mashicha is from one Rishus to another. Mashicha is one Rishus to another. So obviously, Masira, you're not pulling it from one Rishus. So therefore, you can be in Rishus Harabim. V'hi apoche shebekulam, ve'ina koile ela b'Rishus Harabim, v'chatzah she'ena shel shneihem. Right? It's only in those places. Not only in those places. V'loi b'chol dava el b'dvorim kfeidim. Only things that are very, very heavy. She efshel lemoshcham, that you can't possibly pull. El b'tareach gadol kisvina ukayotzeba. So now you have a very, very, very good understanding, right, of kinyanim. It's a very beautiful akdama to understand kinyanim. What exactly, how exactly they do work? Okay. So again, hagbah b'chol makom number 1, mashicha number 2. Where's mashicha besimto or chatzah shel shneihem, right? Where's and masira even only rishus harabim, and the chatzah she'ena shel shneihem, and derech masira, and giving over the reins, it's the shvachis, and it doesn't work mashicha, and mashicha would work if you could pull it. Hagbah would work if you could lift it, right? We're gonna have that Gemara, famous Gemara, about elephants jumping. Oh, we'll see soon. You know, the jumping elephants. You doc, you doc,
Minnesota jumping elephant. Dancing elephant.
Yeah, you had it smoked. I've seen Jefferson airplane. Anyway, with a white rabbit. Anyway, so says the Mishnah. Behema gasa, niknis b'masira, and again Rashi says what? Af b'masira, but not mashicha. Famous Rashi. V'adaka b'hagbah, behema daka b'hagbah divrei Reb Meir. Eliezer chachamim behema daka niknis b'mashicha. It'll be niknis b'mashicha. Like the Ridva fellas. Like the Ridva, like Reb Meir, Mashiach won't work on a behema daka. You'd have to lift it up, right? Like the Ridva, you'd have to. It's a 1, right, guys? You hear? Like the Ridva, it's a 1. You need to go ahead right and lift it up, guys. You hear? You have to lift it up. You have to lift it up. Okay, Dorish Rav became Chunya, the name of a place. Behema gasa niknis b'mashicha. A behema gasa is acquired b'mashicha. Very good. Okay, now we said behema gasa b'masira, and he said about a behema. A behema gasa is niknis vat be mishicha. He says it's niknis be mishicha. That's what he's saying. Okay, says the Gemara. Ashken Shmuel the Talmidei de Rav. He met that Talmidei Amalahu. Me, right? Amar Rav behema gasa niknis and mishicha. Banan we learned that behema gasa is b'masira. only. Tinan, Rav Nami b'Mesira Amar, right? And Rav Nami b'Mesira Amar. So I heard Rav say b'Mesira. So what does it mean? Did Rav have charata from what he said? that it's that Mesira. In other words, Rav says Meshicha. Says Shmuel, he met the Tamidim Rav. The Mishnah says Mesira, and I heard Rav say Mesira. Did Rav Hadabay? Did he go ahead and change his mind for that? Says so says the Gemara, Hudam Kiyaitana. Initially, Rav held Mesira, like it says in our Mishnah. However, he changed his mind. The Tanya, the Chacham Moimim, Zu v'Zu, whether it's Behemagaso or Daka, Niklas Meshicha, or then Niklas Meshicha, not Mesira. Reb Shimon argues, Zu v'Zu Bahagba, and not Meshicha and not Mesira. So it comes out, guys, very good, like the Ritva is very good. Initially, he held Mesira, correct? And then he heard someone said Meshicha, and he changed, because if it's about Meshicha, Mesira doesn't help. Why did he have to change? Why couldn't he just stay consistent? He said Mesira, and now he changed to Meshicha. Why did he have to change? You know what the answer is? Because Meshicha is a 2, and that's a 3, and it's not going to help. The Ritva is beautiful, right? The Ritva, it's beautiful. It's not going to help. And what did Rav Shimon say? Agba. Why? Mesira doesn't work, Meshicha doesn't work. Why? Because it's a 1. It's really, really shmak as anything, this Ritva to explain this whole lineage. Okay. Maskala Rabbi Yosef. Yosef the Kasha. Elamiyata. That you tell me you have to pick up a behema wad gasa, correct? And Cain, Pil Reb Shimon ben Yikna. How in the world can you be kind of what? An elephant. How can you be kind of an elephant? Samle Abaya says Abaya. I'll tell you how. Bechalipin. Bechalipin works b'chamakan, right? Except for Kidushin. It's like in the Isha Bechalipin, right? Inami or else Besaycher Esmakaimai Kinyan Chatzar. Go ahead, rent a spot, get Kinyan Chatzar. That's how you get it. Rav Zera Amar. Rav Zera says, you know what? I'll tell you. Shemevi Arbo Kalim. You're in the circus. You're bringing 4 Kalim, right? Umeinichem Tachas Raglov. You put it underneath the pill, and the pill now goes up off the ground, right? The pill goes off the ground, and therefore it's like the pill is Rishus HaKaina, but Kaina B'Kinyan Chatzar. It's like Kinyan Chatzar. In other words, it's now my Rishus. Shmamina. So Caleb Shalakeach, Rishus Meicha Kana. So I'm buying an elephant for you. It's in your Rishus. I bring my Kalim in. So you see the Kalim of Lakeach and stepping on them is kind of Rishus Meicha. This is a Gemara in Bava Basra. They never place the Shaila. We always ask this, right? You see that Caleb Lakeach is Rishus Meicha. We're not speaking what we're in Rishus of the owner of the elephant. You're speaking Besimta, and Besimta what you could use your Kalim. Inami. So another way, Besimta. Inami b'chaviles murois. You can be kind of an elephant b'chaviles murois with what? With vines, with grapevines. Says Rashi. Inami mishkachas lahagba etzel pil. You find habag by an elephant b'chaviles murois. Hagavoyim min haaretz shleishet tefachim. They're higher than 3 tefachim. Umelichem aleihem, and you, I guess, umailim aleihem. You bring the elephant on top of them. Change the gersa. The hagba shleishet tefachim hagbahi. The nafle mitaris lavud. Lavud within 3 tefachim of the ground is considered lavud. So you go ahead, you put the chavilis murais, and you put it on top of that. Now the question is, why would you need chavilis murais? If that's the only Indian is hagba getting off the ground, it could be anything. It could be a stone. It could be metal. It could be anything. Why do you have chavilis murais? Taisus has a problem. That's Taisus' problem. Taisus says that it's in the hagba just elevating the elephant because the elephant's going to walk up on something and it's what 3 tefachim above the ground. So why dafka walking on chavilis murais? Correct? It can work on anything as long as it's elevated. So if you look at Taisus asks the kasha, and then Taisus answers, if you go down to Mefarish Rav Meshulam, where parallel to the Gemara 4 lines down, Mefarish Rav Meshulam, the lahachi naka chavilis nemurois, lafi shehein Michael pill, that's what their food is. Kidamin and Perik Mafnin, the same in Masechta Shabbos. Matil and chavilis nemurois b'Shabbos, fnei shehein Michael lepilin. You can carry them because they're what? They're not muktzah. Umagbiin lepil chaviles muris lemaila. You'd hold the chaviles muris above the elephant. Who kaifetz, and the elephant will jump. Big satzmim in aretz. Who says the elephants can't jump? Anyway, so chaviles muris. It's fascinating. You know, you'd have the elephant's food. You lift it over here, and the elephant would come along and jump, and that's the hagba of the elephant. Now, elephants, maybe once upon a time they could jump. Maybe once upon a time they could jump, but Bisman Hazel, we've never seen a jumping elephant. It's not new. Baruch. Okay. Bez Hashem tomorrow.
What?